now looking for the whole. I'm now desperately looking for my agenda pack so I get the whole name right. Application has been made by Occasional Arts Limited for premises license in respect of Gilcombe Farm, Bruton. The first thing we need to do is actually appoint a chair for the committee. So this can only obviously be done by any of the fellow councillors. So do I have a proposal for chair for this committee?
And I propose Marcus Gravis.
I second Marcus Gravis. Thank you.
And Marcus Cravis will accept the invite.
Cravis,
Thank you very
my
much,
apologies.
councillors. Second item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
I haven't received any apologies, Chair.
Okay. And next item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest from anybody sitting on the panel?
No.
Okay, what we will do, this is obviously an online meeting. What we would do if this was in the room, we would introduce ourselves. So what I will do is ask everybody on the meeting to introduce themselves. Bear in mind that I have got two screens of people. So I will call your name out and let you, I'll go from left to right on my screen. I'm Marcus Gravis. I'm a divisional councillor for Somerset Council. My division is the Dunster division. Next person is Councillor Lovell.
Yep, Martin Lovell, elected member for Shepton Mallet on Somerset Council, also member of this licensing committee and panel. Thank you.
Simon.
My name's Simon Carswell. I'm the division member for Somerset Council for Street.
And Anne.
Hi, I'm Anne Chisler. I'm the legal advisor for Somerset Council.
And Stephanie, you're sat in the middle of my screen.
Hi, I'm Steph Gold and I'm the Democratic Services Officer at Somerset Council.
Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lloyd. I'm a licensing officer with Somerset Council.
And Chris Hurst is next on mine. Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Sorry, it's Chris Hurst from Three Spires Acoustics. We're the acoustic consultancy acting on behalf of Show of Hands Festival.
Okay. Patrick PC.
I'm Deputy Clerk at Bruton Town Council, just listening in so I can report back.
Okay, if I can ask if anybody does speak during the meeting, switch your camera on. Now we've got Alex Lane.
Hello there, I'm Alex Lane, Director of Occasional Arts and Festival Director for Show of Hands.
Going on to my second screen. Oh, there's a few coming to this now. I've got Rob Sage.
Rob Sage, I'm the Clerk to Backham Parish Council.
Max.
Hi there, I'm Max. I'm the Operations Manager for Show of Hands Festival.
Yep. And then I've got Matthew Phipps.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthew Phipps. I'm from TLT Solicitors. I'm presenting the application on behalf of Show of Hands this afternoon.
And Michael Harvard. Excuse me. Michael Harvard, I assume.
Indeed, it is Havard. My name is Michael Havard. I'm the DPS for this event, and I run a DPS and licensing bar group for Festival of the Night.
I've got Tim Manville.
Yeah, hi, Tim Manville, just representing Gilcombe Farm, which is the venue, the proposed venue for the festival.
Okay, and then we've got a Shane Collins.
Hi, Shane Collins, councillor for Frome East, and also I have involvement in the Green Gathering Festival and Glastonbury Festival.
Okay, I see there's a couple of other people waiting to be admitted.
Is there? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yes. One person. Thank you, Chair. Right, they've been admitted.
Hi, Clara. Welcome to. You've just been admitted to the meeting. We've just done a quick introduction. Can you just introduce yourself, please?
Hi, sorry, I'm a journalist at the BBC.
Okay, thank you. No, bear with me. I've got different screen views going on here. Thank you for attending again. I'm just looking for my running order list, and I'll go through it quickly just so everybody knows in advance how the meeting will be held. Excuse me, I'm getting it of that age. So first of all, the licensing officer produced a report. Then all parties may ask questions of the licensing officer. Members can also ask questions of the licensing officer. I will then invite the applicant to present their case and call any witnesses if they have anybody they want to call. And then all parties and members, all parties first can question the applicant, and then members can question the applicant. I will then invite any responsible authorities to present their case and call any witnesses. All parties may ask questions of the responsible officers, or members can then ask questions of responsible authorities. And then I will go to the other persons who will present their case. So if there's any objectors registered to speak or anybody, I will call them. And then obviously any parties can ask questions of those other persons. And then at the end, I'll ask the responsible authorities to sum up. Then I'll invite the other persons to sum up. And then I would invite the applicant to sum up if they wish. And then finally, the licensing officer. I will then ask everybody to leave the room in order that the subcommittee can reach a decision in private. Everybody will be invited to return to receive that decision. In the event of a complex and lengthy application, the panel may decide to give its decision later in line with the statutory provisions. In this event, the chair will announce the same to all parties. The chair will then confirm the subcommittee's discussion, including details about the right of appeal, and the right to review will be sent in writing to all parties. So thank you. Thank you for listening to that quite lengthy procedure. So I will now invite the licensing officer to present the report.
Thank you. Sorry, I've just been advised that one of the people who made representations is having trouble joining the meeting. So I was just going to send them a quick email with the meeting, sort of like the link again. So hopefully they can join. I don't know whether you want to sort of like temporarily pause, or if you want me to sort of carry on with presenting the report.
Assuming everyone's well, I suppose as chair, that's my decision, isn't it? So as chairman, I think I'm happy to wait for a couple of minutes. But I think there's an awful lot of people. There's an awful lot of people on this call. And while we're waiting, buddy, you'll have to excuse me if I end up dashing this. You see me turning this way or that way. That's because I'm set out like the Starship Enterprise here. So I have you on the screen there, but I also have pieces of paper to my right, and laptop there with other things on as well. So it's not that I'm not paying attention, it's I'm paying attention quite strongly.
I don't think it would have been the blockbuster of the Starship Enterprise that landed it in West Somerset, Marcus.
How do you know it hasn't already?
Are you okay sending that meeting link, Rachel?
Yeah, I've just emailed that over to him because I think he's been on the phone to a customer advisor because they've just messaged me. So I'm just feeding the information back to her as well that I have emailed that over to him, and she's just said that she's on the phone to him. So I think she's just checking with him to make sure that he's got that.
All right, brilliant. Okay.
Who is it? Who is it who's trying to get in?
A gentleman called Mr. Skidmore.
Dick Skidmore. Well, I love it.
Yeah, him, yeah.
The one and only. I haven't seen him for ages. Chair, could I just ask a quick question, just while we're waiting?
Yep. Oh, sorry.
I haven't been to a licensing meeting before, but I just wanted to speak in support of the application, but I don't know at what juncture that would be, because I'm not sure I can stay for what might be, sounds like quite a long meeting.
Well, it would be at the end of the other persons, and then obviously it's people who registered to speak, but I presume, are you the division councillor?
No, but adjoining.
Adjoining division councillor. So that would be down to, I think, I just checked with Anne, but I do believe that's down to my discretion whether I allow Councillor Collins to speak.
You can change the order if you wish to do so, but obviously it's probably better that the applicant speaks first, the licensing officer, and then the applicant, to be honest. So
I'd naturally, Councillor Collins, ask you to come at the end, come in after, after the other people, but I might be able to put you in before the other persons, if that's okay.
All right, yes, I'll be standing by then. It may just very brief, but yeah, I just wanted to put a couple of comments in. Thank you.
sorry, Chair, Matthew Phillips wishes to speak.
By all means.
Hi, Councillor. Thanks. Look, if it helps, Councillor Collins can go in advance of me if that helps. I'm not precious about it. It's obviously a matter for you, not a matter for me, but if it helps, I thought I'd tell you.
Thank you. Because you'll be coming, I assume you'll be coming in as part of the applicant. So I bet let's get we'll get started, then I'll make that decision as we go along. Has Mr. Skidmore managed to join?
No, I've been told he's still having problems, so I'm just letting him know there's a phone number on the invite that he can join via that.
You could come in audio.
Yeah.
It's up to you, Chair, really, how long you want to wait.
I think for the sake of, bearing in mind they're one of the other people, I think if everybody bear with us for a couple of minutes, and as Rachel will be presenting the first item, I think we might need to not be distracting her while she's doing it. So if you've given him the telephone number, we'll give him another couple of minutes, and then we'll start at 2:15.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lovely.
Okay, Chair. Mr. Skidmore is now in the meeting.
Fantastic.
It's now come up. Thank you. Cheers.
Welcome, Mr. Skidmore.
Hello, Mr. Skidmore.
We'll just let you briefly introduce yourself, then we're going to start straight away. So,
well, I'm sorry about that, but the details didn't come through to me. And my name's Dick Skidmore. I did a considerable time at Mendip District Council, and I live right opposite this site. So I'm just a little bit surprised because nobody had been notified, particularly one farmer who has 400 cows. He right bounds this site, and he's had no notification. His boundaries, he grazes cows right next to this site all through the summer. So that's, I'm here.
we've got running order for the meeting, so you'll have a chance to speak when it gets to your turn.
Right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Right, so I'm going to hand over to Rachel, the licensing officer, to present her report.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're here to discuss a premises license application that we've received for an event at Gilcombe Farm, and we received representation, so that's the reason for this hearing. The application is for an annual event at the premises, and if granted as applied for, the license would not have an expiry date. The full details of the application and plan can be seen in appendices 1 and 2 from page 19 in the agenda pack. A revised plan has been submitted and forms part of the supplementary information that's online with the agenda. I'll mention that a little bit later in my presentation. I just wanted to mention we've received representations from local residents and as well as Bruton and Batcombe parish councils. And I also wanted to kind of add that although this is the first application that we received from this applicant for this event, we have had, if you're not familiar with the site has been used for previous events. So I think that's kind of like the local residents and the councils have referred to like evidence of their experiences from those events, but I just want to kind of stress as well that this is the first application that we've had for this particular event from this particular applicant. A summary of the concerns about the application are to do with noise from the event, and in particular the sort of elevated position of the site and the topography which allows noise to travel. In addition to this, alcohol-related disorder, drug supply at the event, safety of pedestrians on the road. From sort of Bruton, there is kind of like there's not a pavement, and I think previously people have walked on the road, which is obviously unsafe for them and other road users. Concerns about fencing not being secure. You can see full details of the representations in appendices 5 to 9, which go from page 43 in the agenda. The applicant provided responses to the people who've made representations, and provided information about how they could address their concerns. For example, information about appointing a noise manager, having a hotline telephone number for residents to call in. And these responses can be seen in appendices 9 through to 12 from page 53 of the agenda. In addition to this, the applicant agreed conditions with the police. One of the conditions is there's a restriction on the number of days the premises can be used for licence for activities under the licence if it's granted, and also includes information about security, stewarding and training, and the conditions can be seen in Appendix 4 on page 39 of the agenda. And then just coming on to the advertising requirements, we received confirmation from the applicant that the application was advertised at the premises, and a notice was published in the newspaper on the 18th of September. So we're satisfied that the advertising requirements have been met. And in addition to this, we also, in addition to sending it to the responsible authority, the application to the responsible authorities, we sent the application to the sort of surrounding Bruton Town Council and surrounding parish councils, and also the division members for Bruton as well. And then just going on from one of the points in the report where I mentioned a meeting, although that hadn't taken place at the time the report was written and the agenda published, but there was a meeting held with the applicant, and the people who made representations were invited. So we had a meeting to discuss the application. The applicant also attended that and gave additional information about the application, and there was an opportunity to kind of discuss concerns and ask questions. The applicant also presented a revised plan. Again, as I mentioned, that is in the supplementary information which was received after the agenda was published. So the applicant has put together a revised plan which shows adjusted positions of the locations, and the applicant explained that that was based on sort of concerns that were raised and should hopefully result in like reduced likelihood of sort of like noise issues. As was during the meeting as well, there were also some sort of like additional information offered, which could then be turned in sort of like into conditions. So those have been written up as conditions and obviously sent to the applicant initially, and forms part of the applicant's solicitor's response, which is published online with the supplementary information, and has also been circulated to residents. And that includes sort of information about the operation of a hotline number during the event, and the requirement to be circulated to Bruton, Batcombe and Milton Clevedon Parish Councils and published on the website for the event. Consultation with the parish councils and the town council in relation to noise management, and a requirement to consider their views, information about what the noise management plan shall contain, appointment of a noise manager, requirement to adjust levels, a designated drop-off and pick-up zone, submission of the traffic management plan to the council's highway service, creation of a waste management plan to explain how litter and other temporary structures are cleared from the site, and the position of a security guard or steward at the main entrance to advise pedestrians or people thinking of walking down the road not to do that, and to advise them of safer alternatives. Like I said, these have been circulated to people who made representations. No representations have been withdrawn as a result. And I just wanted to mention as well that, as was kind of mentioned at the meeting, that due to obviously some of the representations coming from the town council and the parish council, they would need to hold a meeting to kind of consider the information that was given at the meeting and any additional conditions. And due to obviously there's the time constraints between the meeting that took place and the hearing today, it wasn't possible to have a meeting. So again, as well, just wanted to mention that all the representations remain in place. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Very comprehensive report there. So I will now just pass over to the members who can ask questions of the licensing officer.
I have no questions at the moment, Marcus.
I have no questions, Marcus. Thank you.
Okay. I was just going to ask one question myself, actually, just that last bit, the clarification. There were additional. So just for clarification, there were after the residents' meeting, there were additional accepted. I don't know if you used the words conditions, but an agreement as such for how things will operate. But that can't be, but because of town councils have to have, or parish councils have to have meetings on certain dates, etc., they've not been able to discuss that. So no one's withdrawn any representation. But were these conditions expected to be conditions for the license, or was just that part of the noise management plan, etc.? Can you just clarify that for me?
Yeah, I'd say they're additional conditions that have been put forward, and the applicant's solicitor has also kind of referred to them in their additional submission. So my understanding of that would be that the applicant would accept those, being conditions. However, I wouldn't say that they're agreed conditions, because I haven't got that information kind of like formally from anyone who's made representation. So I'd say that they're being offered, but they haven't been agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. With no further questions to Rachel, you can allow you to mute yourself. And now I will hand straight over to number 5 on my list, which is for the applicant to present their case and call any witnesses. I do think we should have this before Councillor Collins can say anything. I do think we should hear the applicant's case first. Thank you. So who's speaking on behalf of the applicant?
So that'll be me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead. You happy for me to go ahead?
Yeah, happy for you. You go ahead, please.
Thanks. Thank you very much. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. So there's a supplementary B document which accompanied all of the materials that we sent through last week in support of the application. It's actually only appeared as supplementary B in the agenda papers earlier today, but I understand the document was circulated to you, and I picked up that you mentioned you've got documents on a desk next to you, as have I hasten to add. So although I can take you through page numbers, I'm guessing that it is a document that everyone is familiar with. And what I propose to do, if you're happy for me to, is effectively canter you through that document. Appreciate you will all likely have read it in advance, but just to take you through that document, and then to do the same with the various attachments, focusing hopefully the entire time on the concerns that have been articulated by the representors, because after all, that's how we come to be here today. So in terms of the material, there is detail about who the applicant is, the nature of the event, who the individuals in front of you are. That's contained both within the supplementary B submission by way of a modest introduction and within a presenter deck that is contained within supplementary A. The premises, as Rachel has kindly explained, is likely well known to you because it's a premises that has had a number of events on its space over the years, and I think one of the representors make reference to Shindig Festival, and I think Farm Fest amongst other events have been held there. Broadly for the same sort of activities, the same sort of hours, although I think it's fair to say for significantly larger capacities. The capacity for this event within the application is proposed to be limited to 3,000 people. But for 2026, it is proposed to be limited to 2,500. And there's some commentary within the materials about that offering the opportunity to grow, but not seeking to effectively run before they can walk next year if you're minded to grant a license. Rachel's also touched on the fact that there is a slightly revised map plan contained within our additional papers appendix, supplementary A. There is no change to the licensable area, no change to the hours, the activities, or the layout of the farm or the area in which activities are proposed to take place. Simply that there's a realignment of the speakers and therefore the stages, taking account of the representations that were made that focused on noise, and we'll come on to the issue of noise in a moment. The event itself is intended to be a family-friendly event, and you will see that it's got a slightly sort of unique selling point in terms of its engagement with the audience and a bit of fun really around a sort of democratic process of allowing for votes and considerations, talks and so forth, how activities will be conducted and so forth. There is an operating schedule of enforceable conditions set out in the agenda, and that's on page 31 of the agenda, which your licensing authority kindly effectively remodeled the conditions that were first proposed within the application, just to make sure that they were watertight. And I should say as well that there are conditions proposed and agreed with the police that are set out on page 38, following engagement and dialogue with the constabulary. Both sets of conditions are proposed to attach to the license if you're minded to grant it, and I'll come back to the issue of the additional conditions that arise following the meeting with the objectors in a moment. Both conditioned within the police conditions and set out as its own standalone document within Appendix A is an index to an event management plan with the list of appendices, namely the policies and procedures that would go into managing the affairs on site. And I'll come to those documents in due course, but essentially a list of everything that will need to be considered by the applicants and organisers in terms of security, stewarding, alcohol management, transport, noise, medical, welfare, etc. There are no responsible authorities here today because none seek to object to the application. And obviously that's a point that I say is of some significance when you come to retire, and your legal advisor will no doubt refer you to paragraph 912 of the national guidance, which broadly says they are to a significant degree the experts in respect of the licensing objectives. The safety advisory group engagement is set out in the supplementary B. It's fair to say that your licensing officer, Rachel, has flagged to me that a formal safety advisory group would not usually be convened for an event as small as this. It would usually be convened for events of over 10,000, but that all the materials would be circulated to all the officers within the safety advisory group, and they would have the opportunity to comment upon it. So whilst my submissions say with meetings likely being convened at the start of 2026, fair to say I can't promise you that there will be meetings, because the officers may take the view that this is not an event of such significance that meetings are required. But we are certainly open to full and comprehensive ongoing engagement with the safety advisory group, as we will be with the police and your licensing colleagues. There are objections, as you're aware, and they have not been withdrawn. And as the licensing officer's report identifies, they focus on issues of noise, concerns about not knowing who to contact about noise, alcohol-related disorder, drugs and their supply at any event, safety as regards accessing of the site, and concerns about fencing. And I'll come through those in due course, but essentially all of those matters are picked up in the conditions and in the event safety management plan policies and procedures. Fair to flag that helpfully a number of the representatives attended a meeting that was mediated helpfully by your licensing service, I think last Thursday, the 30th, and we have proposed some additional conditions which we believe attend to the specific points that were raised within the context of that meeting, and to be fair, they're alluded to within the representations. Those are set out in specific detail as specific conditions at the within supplementary B. I can read them to you if you want me to, but your legal officer will have chance to look at those. If you're comfortable, I will just tell you the headlines of what they say. The first is that there is to be a hotline telephone number made available to residents to whom it's disclosed, and that it is manned, and effectively that calls are answered and responded to, being one. Secondly, that there is to be engagement with the town and parish councils in order to take feedback from experiences from previous events, so that that may help us model and develop our noise management plan proposals. Thirdly, that the noise management plan is to specifically identify noise limits, noise monitoring locations, and that the noise management plan is to be provided to your environmental health service no less than 8 weeks prior to the event. In fact, the draft noise management plan is in front of you now, 6 months out from the event. And we can confirm that noise monitoring locations and that noise levels and so forth are all contained within it. Chris Hurst, who introduced himself earlier from Three Spires Acoustics, will be able to attend to any questions you may have. But in simple terms, what the noise management plan says is that we can develop this event confident in the knowledge that it will not cause public nuisance. I appreciate that's a bit of a pithy summary.
Matthew, can I just, I know you appreciate you in the flow of it, but I just see that Councillor Carswell has just had to go and answer the door. And as this is the licensing panel, I think we should maybe pause while he until he comes back.
Thanks. I'm hoping, if I may say so, he has got to answer the door and he hasn't just got bored and walked off. But let's wait for him to come back.
I think he's back. I think if you can just go back a couple of paragraphs, then Councillor Carswell wouldn't have missed anything.
Sorry about that. There was somebody persistent at my door, and I had to just shoo them away.
Continue, Matthew. You're mute. Mr. Matthew, you're mute.
Councillor Carswell, through you, Chair. Are you happy for me just to pick up where I was identifying conditions we are proposing, attending to the points that were raised in the meeting with the residents last week?
Absolutely. And apologies for me just
No,
getting,
not at all. Not at all.
sidelined.
Sorry, I missed you on the screen.
That's the problem with Teams meetings when you're at home and people are determined to knock at your door. Anyway, carry on.
Exactly right. Well, look, I was only doing them as a summary, but they are fully set out as specific proposed conditions within the supplementary B papers that were circulated. First of all, that there be a hotline number available for residents and that they be provided with details about those numbers and the number be manned and answered effectively with actions arising within a reasonable time frame. Which is a specific concern you'll recall from the officer report, Rachel's summary of the report. That was one of the points. Second was that we will take feedback from the parish and town councils about previous events. Appreciate each application's considered on its individual merits, but we are very happy to hear about particular points or concerns that they may have from previous experience. Thirdly, that there's to be not just a noise management plan, but it has specific levels at which music will be received at sensitive receptors, that there will be monitoring locations that will be monitored, and that will be a dialogue with your environmental health team, and that the noise management plan will be submitted to environmental health no less than 8 weeks prior to the event. That noise management plan in draft form is in fact already in your papers sort of 6 months out from the event. It covers all of those points. And Mr. Hurst, who introduced himself earlier, is here and can answer particular questions if they arise. There's to be a noise manager appointed to monitor the levels, that if exceedances are identified, they're to be corrected within 15 minutes. All of which go to the noise management plan. And Chair, picking up on your point from earlier, although they all go to the issue and content of the noise management plan, bearing in mind that they were specific issues raised by the residents, we're perfectly content for these to be specific conditions within any licence if you're minded to grant one. Then additional points raised was that there is to be a security guard or steward positioned at the main entrance at all times so that they can provide advice and assistance to anyone who is walking along the A359. I have to say that's not something that we currently anticipate. We've got to pick up and drop off. We've got an arrangement with the taxi business. We've got adequate parking for 3 times more or less the number of people who will in fact be entitled or able to attend, presupposing that we sell our tickets. That a designated drop-off pickup zone is to be identified and implemented within the site so that there is no traffic issue caused by people dropping off in the vicinity. A traffic management plan to be submitted to Highways no less than 8 weeks prior to the event, and you will see from the papers a very high-level summary just in terms of vehicle numbers contained within Appendix Supplementary A, and a waste management plan detailing, amongst other things, litter clearance, but obviously there's a bit more to waste at a festival than just litter. That is to be provided for, and that's set out in the event management plan in the appendices. I've touched on the fact that the police do not offer any objection, but there are conditions for you to consider, and we would invite you to attach at page 38. The noise management plan document itself, just to be clear, touches on noise limits, controls, monitoring, dedicated resident hotline, all of which are the points that I've probably already covered. Paragraph 9.12 I've touched on. Your statement of licensing policy, I appreciate I'm not here to patronise you, you'll be pretty familiar with it, but there's a couple of paragraphs I would invite your attention toward. 2.6.2 highlights that where there's a terminal hour of more than 12 midnight for sale or supply of alcohol, that all applications will be subject to close scrutiny by the responsible authorities to ensure there will be no adverse impact on the licensing objectives, which is entirely accepted. And I do ask you to reflect significantly on the fact that although this application seeks alcohol hours beyond 12 midnight, none of the authorities have sought to object. 311.1 talks about the authority recognising the need to encourage and promote a broad range of entertainment for the wider cultural benefit of the community. 4.7.2 talks to issues of sustainability, and that is a specific slide contained within the presented deck materials that we provided at Supplementary A, but that includes attending to issues such as single-use plastic, fossil fuel, alcohol sourced from local suppliers and brewers, and a high recycling rate, and all of those points are touched on in the presenter. Again, perhaps for your legal officer as much as anything else, appreciate that there are concerns articulated within the representations about another event in the vicinity that may or may not take place on the same weekend, and one of the representation seeks to protect the other event, concerned as it may be with this event, but each application must be considered on its individual merits, and we say, hopefully a fair summary of everything that I've said, that we say that notwithstanding that there are of course concerns, and we are entirely respectful of the fact there are concerns, there are in reality concerns with every new application ever, and that we hope that the materials and the presentation today and any answers to any questions you may have will satisfy you that those concerns are being attended to. In terms of the documents themselves, I'm not going to take you through them line by line, but just to flag, there is a revised plan just showing the change in direction of the stage in accordance with the noise management plan and the advice. There is a little detail about vehicle numbers based on, I think, the Purple Guide, which is the National Accredited Festival Guide, showing the volume of vehicles that you could reasonably expect for an event of this size. There is some detail from Michael about his experience as a DPS and his company, who provide alcohol bars management and training services to a wide variety of festivals and have done for many years without issue or concern. There's the noise management plan, which runs to best part of 20 pages. I hope it's acceptable not to be taking you through that and all of the various plans. You will have had a chance to have had a look at that. But what we do say about that is it shows a proper degree of due diligence, a proper engagement in the local issues, one of which is topography, which is touched on in the representations, and Chris will be able to support and answer any questions you have. A presenter that is just to give you a bit of a flavour. I'm not pretending that necessarily goes particularly to the licensing objectives in every slide, but it does set out the suppliers that we are proposing to work with, some of whom are touched on because of your policy, a request that they are local, and you'll see the names there. And then there's the index to the event management plan and the various appendices, which I hope enforce and corroborate the degree of professionalism that is being brought to bear to this application. That's probably more than enough from me. Obviously, we'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm not minded, unless you particularly want me to. I don't tend to call anybody as a witness in these applications. I sort of remind myself we're not in court after all. It is not appropriate for me to be better answered by someone else, and I may defer to someone. I'll do my best, but I may defer to one of the team of Alex, Max, Michael, and Chris if appropriate. That's all from me.
Thank you, Matthew. Quite a comprehensive presentation there, and obviously there are an awful lot of documents that we've been wading through. I've got here, all parties may ask questions of the applicant. I'm going to now maybe take them in order rather than just a free-for-all. So what I'll do is I'll ask the licensing officer whether they have any questions.
Yeah, I do. It's just to do with the additional proposed conditions, and just from in the meeting that we had with the residents and the parish councils, I got the impression that I think particularly the parish councils were kind of like keen to like have an ongoing engagement. So it was just about the condition that refers to seeking their like feedback and that kind of thing. It was just, is that a plan to kind of like have that for each event, or was that a kind of like one-off exercise prior to the first event?
I don't think there's any resistance to having ongoing engagement. I mean, to be fair to both the town and parish, we don't impose it on them if they don't want it, but that we would be obliged to invite them to a pre-event discussion. There would be no resistance to that at all.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got, I'm going to, I see that Councillor Lovell and Councillor Carswell have their hands raised. So if I go to Councillor Lovell first, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a simple question. How many servicing personnel are anticipated to be on site? So you're 2,500. How many other people do we need to think are actually likely to be there? Just a technicality. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll stand corrected by Alex, but the usual numbers would be in the sort of 250 to 300 category. 10% is a broad rule of thumb.
Thank you.
Councillor Carswell, Simon.
Thank you, Chair. My question is really about the topography of the site. So this might be one for Chris, but I just would like an explanation of the topography, because one of the objectors has said that it's on top of a hill or raised. I just want to know roughly how much the site is above the local villages, town residents, or whether just an idea of the topography. Thank you.
Well, I think I'll defer to Alex on the actual topography because I have not been to site.
I don't have the meterage to hand. Apologies, Councillor Carswell. There is a section that is on top of the site, but we have positioned all of the stages at the base of the hill for the specific reason of noise mitigation.
Right, so none of these stages are actually at the highest point or near the highest point. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to now what I will do is ask because it says here all parties, so that includes the other persons. What I will say, if the other persons, who I presume I've got down in my list as Mr. Skidmore and Mr. and Rod, I can't read how much. So if they have any specific questions, there's not an opportunity for you to make your case. If you've got any questions of what the applicants actually said in the last few minutes, please. Anybody? I'll go to Mr. Skidmore first. You're on mute, Mr. Skidmore. You're still on mute. You press your space bar, that might take you off mute. Used to on Zoom. No, oh dear, we switched this camera off. Okay, the joys of online meetings.
Sorry, Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Kravis. I can't unmute him either. It's not giving me the option to unmute, which is bizarre. It's greyed out.
Mr. Skidmore, forgive me for this. There's a button on the top right corner of your screen, or could or should be next to the word share. That is is an image of a microphone. If you click that, that will probably unmute you.
There you
There
go.
you
He's
go.
got it. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fire away,
Yes,
Mr.
we can.
Skidmore.
Right. Because I disagree with Alex over the topography, because yes, the site is basically on top of quite a reasonable sized slope. It's above Bruton. It's not above Batcombe, but it's above Milton, or just about above Milton Cleveland. But it sits, and if you look on your map, you'll see that to the west there's a range of buildings, which there's a big slurry store and things there. And that guy knows 400 cows, and he got hold of me the other day to say he hadn't heard about this because the signs that are put out advertising or showing the public that this is going to be an event here or planned for an event, they're all on the 359, when nobody from this area on the west side travels that road, because we all go cross country or go to Shetland or pick up our main roads elsewhere. So, and to me, that's not correct. And it's again, it's all about the monitoring. You know, I listened to Matthew's report. He's a professional in his field. He's very used to standing up and presenting these cases. I've sat at Mendip over the years for 16 years with licensing, and yes, when it comes to the actual event, it all looks very different. And you know, where it's strictly ticket only, the introduction of cash when somebody's offering it usually gets taken, and the numbers gradually increase. So
can I deal with those questions, please, Mr. Skidmore? First of all, we can't accept, I'm afraid, the suggestion of some criminal collusion taking cash behind inappropriately. That I'm afraid we have to simply say no, that simply isn't right, nor is it fair or proper to raise it. And it hasn't been raised as any part of the representations and should not be raised today, respectfully. Secondly, in terms of the monitoring, candidly, it doesn't matter whether I've ever done this before. The noise management plan specifically sets out the monitoring proposition, and we have specifically sought to condition the license following a meeting with residents last week with specific mention of monitoring. And it would not be appropriate to suggest, if it is your suggestion, that environmental health or the licensing service will not be engaged with us in ensuring that we deliver to the environmental officer is not here because he doesn't serve representation, but it would not be fair behind his or her back to suggest that they would not be doing an appropriate job of enforcement, of monitoring our monitoring. And as to the topography, we also don't agree with that at all. The point was made very clearly by Alex that the position and the dialogue that Chris has undertaken in the production of the noise management plan has taken account of the position of the slope in order to seek to put it in an appropriate position. So I'm sorry, but it's a no to all three, just to be clear.
Well, also to be clear then, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that both Batcombe and Bruton have recommended refusal. They're unable to have further meetings prior to this meeting taking place to make any further decisions. But they both recommended refusal at the time, and thought this is mainly because of events that have taken place there in the past, which have caused quite a few problems, particularly on the road. It is unwalkable from Bruton to the site. There is no pavement. It's not safe for anybody on a bike, let alone people walking on that road. However,
Mr. Skidmore,
let me address those questions, if I may, Mr. Skidmore.
Well, I will allow you to, because I mean, what I'm trying to say is, can we keep these are your opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, specific questions. You will get your chance to you'll get your chance to present your objection later on in the meeting. But if we can keep it to specific questions now rather than comments, etc. Thank you.
If I may address those two, treating them as questions, I'm grateful to you for the confirmation that the objection is predominantly concerned with other previous events on site. I'm afraid each application has to be considered as individual merits. It's this application that we are considering. We are not undertaking a review of an event in 2017, as I see there's reference to the Shindig Festival some 8 or 9 years ago in one of the objections. And the other point is that insofar as the road points are concerned, it is of significance, we say, that neither highways nor the police have sought to engage to suggest that there's anything wrong with this. So I don't know why you're shaking your head, Mr. Skidmore. I'm sorry, but they haven't engaged and they have not objected to this application. And we are bound to say that we would be deferring to them in any event, as per the traffic management conditions that the police have proposed and that we will be obliged to comply with.
Motion both recommending refusal.
Yes, you'll get a chance. You'll get, if I can, you'll get. I'll go as chair. I'm going to just move over now to. I've got. Is it Mr. Sage? Do you have a specific question of the applicant? And please, I must highlight it needs to be a question of the applicant, not a chance to repeat your representation.
No questions at the moment, but I will comment on the topography when we get to my chance to speak.
That's great, thank you. But I keep forgetting that I'm not only chair, I'm also a member of the committee. So I'll I did have one. I did have one question actually. It probably popped up from. It actually popped up from Chris's comment that he hasn't actually visited the site. But I've read your report. It's quite a detailed report. Are you obviously you've written that report. You're confident in that report. Why did you not feel it was necessary to visit the site?
The modelling that we relied on uses the topography from Google Earth. So although there's a relative uncertainty to that, it's enough to give us a good degree of certainty that within a margin of plus or minus 3, say, the levels are going to be what they are predicted to be.
Now, I've got one question that came up. Obviously, the application the application says 3,000 people, but obviously you've commented that this year you're happy with that you're going to keep the numbers down to 2,500 people. You've obviously, and I'll mix these two questions up, I suppose. I suppose you'd be happy with that to be a condition of the license for the first year. That for the first year it's 2,500. And obviously, what I'd like to, what I'd like to ask him, you talked about being a family festival, and indeed, I've seen who your acts are, on some of the presentation. But when we give this license out, what are your long-term development plans for this festival? Because obviously, we're looking at this application now. It might be, if it goes well, it might be 3,000 next year. But you're intending to keep it as a family festival and not turn it into, say, I don't know, heavy metal rock festival in 2 years' time. I'm just trying to think of a way to articulate that, but I think you know the question.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're probably better to hear from Alex rather than me, but can I just make the sort of slightly legalistic point before we talked about the slightly sort of more cultural point, is that the reason that we were open and transparent about our appetite for this to be an annual event was for just that reason. The way in which the events of the UK tend to work is that you have a date in your diary when you attend an event that you yourself like. And so if you flip-flop between different musical genres or different styles or different approaches, effectively, well, in my experience, and I realize I'm not giving evidence here, but those are the events that fail. It's the events that have certainty. This is who we are. This is what we do. See you next year. Tend to be the ones that succeed. But Alex will probably say something on that.
Sure. Thank you, Matthew. No, I appreciate that. Could be confusing from that. I hope you've looked at the slide deck and to give a bit more colour to the some of the acts and some of the activities and workshops that we have on there. It is fundamentally a family festival, and I I would say it always will be. Michael Havard, Max Scott and myself met while we worked at Greenman Festival. That's the heritage of working in Powys Council. And it does well for us, and that's kind of the experience that we have working in those kind of environments. It wouldn't really be for us to do anything else, to be honest with you. So I think in answer to your question, yes, it will always be family friendly.
Thank you, of course. And of course, if there was a fundamental change in direction, there's always the opportunity for people to call for a review of the license, so at a later date.
So just to interrupt, to give you a straight answer on the record to your first question, yes, to a condition that 2,500 would be the maximum permitted for 2026. I think you saw us nod, but bearing in mind these things are recorded, then I just thought it best to say it.
I think also video recorded as well. But yeah, and I think one final question, because I've looked at, and I apologize if I missed it in the documentation, but there's a lot of documentation. The car parking on site, I was trying to come up with how many car parking spaces you actually got there, and I can actually apologize I missed it. I've probably got lost, but can you just, for the sake of this meeting, tell me how many parking spaces or how many cars you anticipate you could park if you had to?
2,000 is the straight answer. There's capacity without changing the plan in front of you for 2,000 cars, and the Purple Guide normally models on 3 attendees to 1 vehicle. That's effectively more or less 0.9 or something like that. So yeah, triple more or less the likely anticipated requirement.
I see Councillor Carswell has his hand up again, so I'll come back to Simon.
Yeah, just to say that I saw in the papers that anticipated, I think, 777 vehicles at about 2.7 people per vehicle, from memory.
Yes, I don't chant that. Forgive me. The 3 is a bit broad brush, so apologies. 2.7. I'll take the correction.
Okay, I will now. We should now go to responsible authorities. We have no EHO, we have no police here. So I will move straight on to the other persons. So I will go to, I'll go for a different order than last time, if you don't mind. I'll go for Rob first, and then after Rob, we'll go back to Mr. Skidmore.
Right, thank you. I mean, comments been made that we cannot consider previous application festivals at the site, but those festivals that have caused considerable concern for Batcombe in the past, where people have been kept awake at night until 4 in the morning with music, and people have been at their bed and breakfasts and have left because they can't stand the noise in the village when these festivals are on. So that does generate why we are concerned about this festival. We were very grateful when all the other festivals moved on and went somewhere else, and so we're disappointed that we've got a new music festival coming here now. Just on the topic of topography, the hill that Gilcombe Farm is on is considerably higher than the land where I live, which is just below it, and then Batcombe is below that again. So there is considerable drop in altitude from where Gilcombe Farm is to where Batcombe is. And basically, if you get the wind in the wrong direction coming from the south, it brings the noise over from Gilcombe Farm, from that hill, down into Batcombe and funnels it along the valley, which goes through the main street of Batcombe. And that was the main cause of noise problems in the past. So that's the topography. When Batcombe put in their representation, we didn't have any view of a noise management plan, so I'm pleased to see the noise management plan that has been produced. I am slightly concerned that the maps on that plan, which show the impact of noise, don't actually extend as far as Batcombe. They are cut off at the point where we get towards Backham, and you can see the noise is extending beyond there, but it's not showing what the impact will be on Backham. So that certainly is a disappointment with regards to those that noise management plan. Backham feels if we do have to have a festival, there does need to be a strong noise management plan in place. Many of the issues that have been addressed since then, such as having a hotline for residents, are certainly very important. With those that hotline being acted on, so instead of rather than just taking a note of people's complaints, actually doing something about it when someone is being disturbed. And it should be noted that Backham is a very quiet place, even compared to Bruton. There is not a lot of noise at night in Backham, so noises that somewhere else may be relatively low, do cause disturbance to people living in Backham who are used to sleeping in quiet. And just as an example of the level of noises that we have in our village, the village hall has noise levels of 43 decibels until 11 o'clock and 37 decibels after 11 for any late night events. And that shows you the level of noise that is expected in Backham, and how disturbing any level of noise is that's higher than that. And so I certainly hope that will be taken into consideration in any noise management plan. The parish council is concerned that music is going on till 3 o'clock. I know Alex has said that this has to go on till 3 o'clock to be viable. I do notice that the application states that that this is meant to be a family-friendly festival, camping festival, and I just wonder if it is a family-friendly festival, why you have to have no music until 3 a.m. I'm sure that's counterproductive if you've got families who are wanting to sleep. So parish council certainly would like to see the music finishing earlier, or at least it being at such a level it is not disturbing residents at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that's the main points. We do have a concern over safety on the A359, which has been raised by Bruton Town Council, and they have more concern with that. We've also had issues in the past with festivals with people thinking that they can get into the festival by parking in Backham and walking across the fields, across farmers' fields. So I think it needs to be made clear that they can't do that. I think that covers the main points in our representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions of Rob from the members, please?
Just a quick observation, Chair. There is a pub in Backham, I believe, that there were objections to when they wanted to extend their hours because of noise, but we haven't had any subsequent objections. I'm just wondering whether Backham is quite as quiet as made out. Also, when I was a lad, Backham bikers will always be revving their engines round Backham. They're probably, the middle classes have moved them out, but Backham hasn't always been a quiet village. I'm not quite sure whether there was a question in there. I don't know. I'm afraid I can't answer the question about the pub and its license. Any other questions for Mr. Sage?
Nothing from me, Chair.
So I have one, if I may.
Okay, fire away.
Only this, Mr. Sage, just in terms of the previous events, would you accept that the other events had significantly larger capacities proposed than this, at least double I think in latter years treble or more? I think up to, Rachel will know. I see Rachel look up as I say, she'll probably be able to advise you specifically, but I think it's fair to say there were capacities greater than 2,500 or 3,000. Would you accept that was the case?
Certainly towards the end of their period there, yes.
Thanks.
They gradually grew over the years.
Appreciate it.
Smaller
Thank you.
festivals into large ones.
Thank you.
thank you, Rob. I'm now going to move over to.
If I could just add one thing that I
you may.
to mention.
You can.
Yeah. So it's just with our experience of previous festivals, two of the festivals had applied for an annual license, and one had a permanent license. And what we did find was that with the one with the permanent license, it was very difficult to do anything about the noise issues from that festival. The others, they had to, we could make representations each year when they reapply for their license. And that does concern the parish council slightly, that this is for a permanent license that will continue on. And that, so if there are issues, Ray, that appear this year, we don't need to, we want to have a way of addressing those going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mr. I will now move. I don't think there's any more questions for yourself. There's a couple of things you've raised that has prompted maybe a couple of questions from myself later that I may ask the applicant and break with the running order slightly. But I'll go over to Mr. Skidmore next, please.
I can only go along with Rob's report there. I mean, the same things apply at Milton Clevedon, only the fact that we are closer. And I think all councillors on this committee should visit the site and just have a look at it, preferably walk the boundaries and see how close these farming activities are. I think there's about 9 horses grazing along that boundary today, and that increases depending on what time of year it is. Bearing in mind again that this is a limited company that's applying this license, so money is the main objective. And also other things to consider is you have the Frome show site that's always available. You have the Mid-Somerset show site that's always available at Shepton Mallet. Then you have, of course, the Bath and West show site is available for large and small events, all in this area. So creating yet another problem to be monitored in a good style is just, I don't understand the applicant first applied, which Rob has just mentioned, for an open-ended license. So that puts the fear into everybody in the locality, not knowing as to how often these things will happen. And it's very easy for Matthew to say, you know, oh, this won't happen, that won't happen. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that live close to this site, and we are obviously trying to protect our area from a continuous festivals that are likely to go on with every bank holiday or whatever. And I think the times of which, if you're inclined to agree with the licensing times, I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, as Rob has pointed out again, that, you know, is that really necessary for these family-friendly occasions? Yes, you know, I've been to all sorts of festivals, particularly obviously Glastonbury, and watched it grow over the years, of which the police still say no. If there was a major catastrophe there, they wouldn't be able to be involved because it's too vast. However, this is a small family event. If it gets a license and goes ahead and retains like that, maybe it won't cause such a problem in this area. But my foreseeable future is, unless it's very strict monitoring, we shall have quite a lot of problems, particularly with noise, because you can't control the wind or the weather. And likewise with numbers, it may be ticket only, and Matt will pick me up on this game, but all sorts of people will turn out if the weather is fine. Bath and West find that with their events on a weekly basis. If the weather's fine, their numbers can double. So here we go. I'm not going to say any more because I don't think it's, you know, just hope the councillors will take this into a deep consideration before they grant a licence, bearing in mind that he's probably aiming for an open-ended licence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skidmore. Any questions of Mr. Skidmore from the applicant? Well, actually, I'll go to the members first. Any members, any questions, Mr. Skidmore, from the members?
None from me.
No. And from the applicant?
No, thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple of things that I think I suppose there were questions earlier on, and maybe, but it's being touched upon, and apologies if I'm grounding papers here. The 3 o'clock for music, etc., has been touched upon several times, and I think it was referred to by, I think it was Rob actually, about the viability of the festival, but then the type of festivals we talked about, the need for music and alcohol to that sort of time. I mean, recorded music. I mean, I assume recorded music is not going to be as big as loud as bands, etc. Without referring to the noise management plan. But I'm just trying to think of the commercial reasoning for music that late for that license for festival.
Yeah, well, let me.
It's 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Do you mind if I pick up sort of a number of those points? The first thing is in the noise management plan, just to be clear, effectively the of the 3 stages, the stages close down as we move into the later part of the evening. So after 11, there'll be significantly less entertainment, and those who want to go back to their tents and/or want to go to sleep. And let's remember that the nearest residents, or the nearest sleepers at least, to these activities are in tents some 100 yards away from the activities themselves. So that is in and of itself a control measure of sorts. But there will be entertainment going late, and without in any way being rude, the organisers have determined that some of their customers would like the entertainment to go late. If that entertainment doesn't adversely impact the licensing objectives, then it's perfectly legitimate for them to determine it. It's a bit of a legalistic answer, and legalistic answers in these contexts of these series is never particularly attractive, but it is the only straight answer I can give you. If we have some entertainment going until late, and some of our customers decide to take advantage of that, whilst it remains entirely incumbent upon us to ensure it does not unreasonably intrude outside of the parameters of the event site, bluntly, matter more for us than anyone else. I mean, as I say, it's not a very attractive thing to say, but it's the straight answer. In terms of the point about the numbers of people point, and just about the escape of music, I just would make this point. Perhaps this is a point for my closing. It not necessarily answer your question. I'll be happy told to be quiet, but such volumes of people as there were at other events is important context, because the number of people who are needing to be entertained was that much greater than would be the case under the limited capacities proposed here. And although this is a bit of a poor analogy that no doubt Chris, the acoustician, will correct me on, if you're trying to entertain more, triple in some cases, the volume of people than this event is proposing, then it's reasonable to presume that the volumes at which the music was being played would have been louder, because the audience and the size of the audience would have been larger.
Can I just add to that point, Matthew, that the main stage is an open air stage that ceases at 11 o'clock. The other stages will be big top type stages, temporary tented accommodation stages. There will be some attenuation from that fabric because it's quite thick, and in the noise modelling that doesn't take it into account. So the noise modelling in itself slightly over predicts the levels that will after 11 o'clock. So there is an extra degree of attenuation through the tented stages.
Thank you. That's great. On the noise modelling, so I'm looking at your noise management plan here. And sorry if I'm asking another question out of turn, but I think it's best to ask these questions regardless of order. The other people have talked about wind a lot, and on your noise modelling, I'm just looking whether how you've taken into account, obviously, or how you can take into account what or may not the climatic conditions be. I mean, for as an example,
The modelling is in a neutral condition, but the model allows us to put a vector in there and a wind speed, which we can do. But essentially, the levels will be controlled to ensure they achieve the limits off site. So as it generally happens, unfortunately, if there's the wind vector which pushes the wind in one direction, you might have to turn the stage down a little bit more than you would normally. That's what generally happens. I do many festivals, and we have to encounter those sort of conditions. So if you typically in the UK, it's a southwesterly wind direction for 70% of the year, and generally northeasterly for the remainder. But these can vary from day to day and hour to hour. So there'll be a feedback system from the noise manager who's going out, will feedback either via WhatsApp or a two-way radio to the event management control people, and they'll take when they take the readings, they'll feed that back, and if intervention needs to be made as a protocol for the stages to reduce accordingly. And that will be typical of every other sort of rural festival type approach.
Thank you for that. I think that probably covers everything I wanted to ask at this time. I've now got my on my list here. Bear with me. We're now down to the summing up. So I've now basically got in order. I've got I've got the other persons. So that's Rob and Mr. Skidmore to sum up if they wish, and then I'll go to the applicant to sum up if they wish, and then I'll go to the licensing officer to sum up
Chair,
if they wish. Yes.
Chair. Sorry, you were going to let Shane Collins speak at some time, I thought. Wait, you've muted yourself now.
No, because I was seeing a Shane's to Councillor Collins. It's because you're on my second screen. So we will now go to Councillor Collins. Thank you, Chair, for that reminder.
Thanks. Yeah, just to introduce myself, as well as being a councillor, I'm one of the directors of the Green Gathering Community Interest Company, and I've been a licensee for festivals for nigh on 25 years and run the Speakers Forum at Glastonbury and Green Gathering and do the recycling at Glastonbury. So just a couple of general points on the waste side of it. It's very good to see the bars will be using reusable mugs, and there's no single-use plastics. As regards that the bad road coming up from Bruton, which Mr. Skidmore mentioned, I would recommend a shuttle bus going from the station to the festival site, in particular at sort of arrival times and leaving times. And completely back up the point made about sound and wind direction. But just a very general point, you know, festivals in this part of Somerset are a huge employment opportunity for many, many people who live around here. So I think that should be taken into account alongside possible negative sound levels if the wind is in the wrong direction. But yeah, I just stress, you know, it's a big employment opportunity. And also, you know, it's an enjoyment opportunity for a few thousand people, and we need more of that these days. So yeah, that was really all I got to say, and very much in support of it.
Thank you. I presume there's no questions from Councillor Collins regarding his representation. If not, I will then move on.
If the shuttle bus from the station to the festival site, if that could be addressed, please. Because we don't really want people walking up that very curvy, narrow road from Bruton.
Thank you. I'll hand that back over to the applicants. I do recall seeing something about you being in conversations with taxi companies, etc. On the
that's right. There's got to be a traffic management plan. It's part of the conditions. Forgive me, the genesis of which is I think it comes from the police conditions. There's to be a traffic management plan. It's specifically set out in our appendices to our event management plan. It'll be part of our considerations. Forgive me on the hoof. I can't say it'll be at this time until this time, but yes, absolutely, it'll be a part of the considerations and it'll be factored in.
Okay, without any hesitation, without any delay, then I will now move over to the other persons to sum up. So do the other persons wish to sum up? That's Mr. Skidmore, Mr. Sage.
Well, I'll go ahead of Rob if you like, Rob, unless you want to go in there. So anyway, all I can ask is that the councillors making this decision visit the site, have a bit of a drive round, because this site does affect a wide variety of people, and particularly those farmers that are buying the site that have no notification. And you know, there's considerable volumes of livestock and horses. There's 2 guys that keep about 14 horses along that boundary there. So just take that into mind if the license is granted, that, you know, there's a lot of consideration needs to be taken for these guys. This is summertime, livestock is out, and so that's all I've got to say, really. Consider
Thank you,
those,
Mr. Sage.
because you do get other things are happening all the time.
I've nothing to add to what I've said already.
Thank you. I'll now go, I presume it's to Matthew for summing up from the applicant.
So yes, thank you. Look, a couple of points. Just first of all, in terms of the site, we believe it's a good site, and we believe that it's fair to say it's a perfectly legitimate site. Each application on its individual merits entirely, but that this site has repeatedly had events of significantly more size than the proposal, it is, we say, of some consideration. We are not immune to the livestock observation, but I am bound to say that does seem to stretch the licensing objectives somewhat, and I'm a bit of a loss to understand how I could propose a condition or anything like that, but the point is fairly made and one we're respectful of. In terms of the application itself, we do say unashamedly it's a comprehensive application. There are comprehensive conditions that have been significant part supported by the licensing authority in their drafting, page 31, significant conditions, page 38 from the police, and all of the conditions we proposed in the submissions following the meeting with the residents. There's also an event safety management plan index and list of appendices that on any view are significant. I mean, they look candidly a bit like a document you might expect for a 5, 10, 15,000 capacity event. The primary issue seems to be one of noise, and we entirely get the fact that that is a point that we need to deliver upon, and we also respectful of the fact that there's a degree of, if not cynicism, caution about accepting at face value everything that we say. But if we just go to Chris's point about monitoring, noise management is effectively reverse engineered. It's not the sound input that goes out, it's the noise receipt at sensitive levels managed back in. And the noise management plan and everything that you've heard from Chris indicates that that is how we are set up to deliver. And I do make the point that we're so much smaller than previous events, that's bound to have an impact on the volume of entertainment that is performed. The one point that, forgive me for this, Chair, but I thought you were going to pick up on it. You didn't, but I'm going to address anyway. And if you tell me it was an irrelevance, I'll apologise now. Was why did we apply for extended years? Because it was a point that was raised, I think, by Mr. Skidmore, forgive me, that they were used to having the opportunity to submit representations every year that an application was made annually. I mean, there's a business certainty and investment in infrastructure point that probably is irrelevant to the licensing objectives, but it's honest, I hope. But the better point I'd respectfully suggest is it isn't to anybody's advantage to be making applications every single year. It's significantly onerous and costly for applicants. It's significantly onerous for officers and your colleagues having to address. It's significantly onerous on residents, local businesses, and the responsible authorities for having to consider whether to serve representations. And if representations are served, as self-evidently there's 16 of us on this call, it's fairly onerous on everybody else. And that in and of itself isn't an answer, but the answer is, if we don't do this properly, we can be reviewed in the blink of an eye, and we can be brought back before you, and then we will have some explaining to do. So my final point is this: we are respectful of the fact that there is some caution, there is some anxiety, there are some concerns, of course, But I am, I'm afraid, bound to finish on the point that that's true of every single application for a new license. Pub, bar, hotel, restaurant, and festival. That's the nature of having regulated activities under the Licensing Act. Have we done all that we can to say that we can fairly confidently move forward because we're going to promote licensing objectives? Answer to that question is a resounding yes, we say, and we invite you to grant the application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phipps. With that, the final summing up will come from the licensing officer.
Thank you. It would just be just to remind you of section 2 of the report, so the issues for consideration. And as part of that, I just wanted to mention that one of the residents hasn't attended a meeting today, and no one from Bruton Town Council has spoken, but their representations do form part of the reports back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's no other comments that anybody wants to make, even though we've finished the running order. I will now propose that we will, I suppose, retire is the right word, to make a decision. We will actually go to, I'm assuming we're going to go to the other meeting link to make that decision, rather than kick everybody out of this meeting and then re-invite them all in. Is that how we plan on
Chair, what we
doing
did
this,
was,
Stephanie?
yeah, sorry, Chair, what we've actually done, the last couple that I've done, is ask everybody else to leave. We stay here and then come back to this link at a set time.
Okay.
So we do it. So you do your deliberation, and then I think last time we said it was about 45 minutes for deliberation. I will leave that up to you to decide how long you would like to say we will deliberate for.
Well, what I suggest is that we do that for 45 minutes, and that will make it 4:15.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we haven't made a decision by 4:15, we can tell everybody we haven't made a decision by 4:15.
Yeah.
So we would now invite everybody, or I suppose you can literally chuck them out of the meeting, and we will then continue our deliberations, and we will see you again at 4:15.
Please rejoin us. Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
very
you.
much, Chair.
Bye.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye. I'm just going to stop recording a moment, Chair. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I'm just going to record this final part of the meeting. I'll hand back over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Is everybody in who wants to be in?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and from our side, so yes.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for attending today, and thank you for coming back. The committee has taken into account all the representations and evidence made both at this meeting and, of course, those in writing beforehand, and also the documentation that has been provided. And we have decided to grant the application with the previous conditions as in the appendices, and of course the additional further conditions that the applicant has put forward at this meeting and in their documentation earlier. We will have the additional, I see Michael Harvard's wanted to come in. We have the additional condition that the capacity for the first year will be limited to 2,500 people. I'd like to thank everybody for how we've conducted the hearing today. I would like to thank everybody for the amount of information and how it was presented. It was very nice to be able to look at a license application with such detail. We do note that the applicant suggested a meeting prior to each yearly event. We would recommend that maybe the applicant should consider having a meeting with residents and parish councils at the end of each event, so things are still fresh in the memory and there's enough time to make any to consider anything from that meeting prior to the next event. There will be a full written decision published within 5 working days, and that will be sent to the parties involved. As again, I'd like to thank you very much for attending today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair and Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything?
No, that was fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I see Simon's
Thank
gone
you.
already.